Je suis, I will speak in French, right? So I hope that in French or in English.
Go on in French, you will speak in English. You can dive into English when you want, but just go on in French. Feel at ease, anyone.
Je suis, I will speak in French, right? So I hope that. Let's go in French. I will be able to speak very well in French too. Allô, mon père, vous m'entendez? Hello. Est-ce que vous
Yes,
m'entendez?
Mali, we can hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Ok. Bonsoir à tous. Bonsoir, mon père. Je suis Kwaku Marie Solange de la Côte d'Ivoire et nous sommes aujourd'hui le 13 mars, comme prévu pour le webinaire sur les jeunes Africains et l'impact du pape pendant ces 10 années avec les jeunes, tout ce qu'il y a eu, les actes qu'il a pu poser en faveur ou à l'égard des jeunes. Donc, c'est sur ces éléments-là que nous allons échanger avec l'expérience des autres jeunes qui ont été dans les pays dans lesquels le pape a été. Donc, je suis avec Tamicho Songwe. C'est avec lui que nous travaillons en tant que modératrice. Voilà, donc. Après quoi, nous pourrons commencer avec les panélistes qui vont nous donner plus de détails sur ce qu'il y a à comprendre et à faire. Merci. I hope it's finished so we can start with the panelists. Hello.
Panelists, may you introduce yourselves? And also state the countries where you're from.
Hello, everyone. I'm Engineer Peter Ganiko from South Sudan. I represent South Sudan.
Good day, everyone. My name is Nolutando Nono, and I am from South Africa.
Okay, good evening all. My name is James Owibo. I'm from Nigeria and I'm standing in for Nigeria. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Joseph Mamba. I'm of Kenyan origin, but currently in Algeria. I'm a student in architecture, and yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Bonsoir à tous. Je suis Joseph. Moi, c'est Joseph. Je suis du Kenya, mais actuellement, je suis en Algérie. Je fais mes études en architecture. C'est un plaisir d'être avec vous. Merci.
Hello, everybody. I am Bergerac Likibi from Congo-Brazzaville, and I'm so happy to join you today to discuss about the health of Francis. Bonsoir à tous, je suis Likibi de Bergerac du Congo-Brazzaville et je suis ravi de cette rencontre avec vous. Merci.
Okay, thank you to our panelists. Thank you for your introductions.
Good
We would like to.
Good evening to you all. This is Sister Josephine Awino from Kenya. I'm here as one of the leaders of Church of Now, assisting Father Jean from Malawi. He's supposed to be here with us. I guess he's just held up somewhere, but we are here to journey together with the youths. And so I wish you all the best, and may our discussion of today be a fruitful one. Thank you so much. There is one of the panelists from Kenya, Basil. I know Basil is soon joining us. So before that, we can pick up, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sister. I was just about to ask you to introduce yourself. We also have Leo. I don't know who is Leo.
Let's continue with those who have to introduce themselves. Let the discussion go on. Others will introduce themselves as time goes on, but for the time being, let's keep on with the discussion.
Okay, thank you. I would like to appreciate this platform that you've been given to be moderators for these very important topics and subjects that we believe as young people in the church in Southern Africa, together with our elders, are issues that we need to dialogue on, and we need to come up with lasting solutions, I would say, to all these questions that have been put forward. There are three main points for discussion this evening. The first one is, how can one remain faithful in a continuously changing society? Marie will help in translating into French so that we are all on the same page. I think it would make the conversation flow much better if we have someone who can translate. The second one is, what spaces does the participation of the Pope Francis are called to? Oh, sorry about that. What spaces does Pope Francis afford to African youth? And thirdly, what type of church does the Francis effect promote or encourage in our continent? I will ask Marie to read the items in French, then we will proceed, and we will call each of the panelists to contribute on each of the items so that we do not mix up things as we go along. Thank you. Marie, are you there?
Yes. So I have to translate.
The terms in French. What are you going to discuss? What are the terms we are discussing today? Qu'est-ce que nous présentons au monde? De quoi est-ce qu'on attend les gens, de quoi parleront aujourd'hui?
D'accord. D'accord, donc pour ce webinaire, nous avons comme thème les jeunes Africains influenceurs de la foi marquent une décennie avec le pape. C'est-à-dire que ça va nous demander de revenir sur tout ce qui a été fait par le pape durant ces 10 années dans ses actions avec les jeunes, particulièrement les jeunes Africains. Donc, c'est sur ce thème-là que nous allons échanger avec tout le reste. Et nous avons des pays dans lesquels le pape il a été en contact avec ces jeunes-là. Donc, ces jeunes vont donner leur expérience avec lui et avec plus de détails et tout ce qu'ils ont reçu comme ce que ça a pu impacter dans leur vie de manière positive. Voilà, c'est un peu de ça que nous allons parler. Donc, à présent, nous pouvons passer avec les panélistes qui vont nous donner plus de détails sur ces choses-là. Merci. Hello. Tamisho, please.
Thank you, Marie. We'll start in Nigeria. James, to the first question, what would you say are the spaces that, how can you say young people can remain faithful in a continuously changing society? Since we know the church of yesterday is not the same as the church of today, but it's a church that we have been encouraged to be one church that journeys together and a church that encourages dialogue and encourages listening and also gives space to young people to express themselves. James, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good evening and thank you very much. As you asked, how actually we can remain youthful and faithful in continuously changing society. If we remember very well in the post-synodal apostolic exhortation of the Holy Father, Christy David, that he paid keen attention to the troubles of the youth, our troubles. And in a changing society, one of the major characteristics is that the youths are prone to be confused, disillusioned, weak, weary, and tired. But then in that Christus Vivid, Pope Francis in paragraph 109 tells us that we, the young people, whenever we feel disillusioned by the constant changes we find in the world, that we should look at the image of Jesus. And he went further in the paragraph below, in paragraph 26, to describe the personality of Jesus as a youth. And in discussing Jesus as a youth, he gave the analogy of Jesus being found in the temple with the elders, teaching and answering questions. And the parents then led him home. So the Holy Father was saying that that was actually the age
We
of
are losing your audio. You can turn off the video as you speak so that you don't use too much bandwidth.
All right. So the Holy Father was actually saying that at the point that Jesus was found in the temple and taken home by the parents, by the both parents to Nazareth, is the youthful age of Jesus. But then the lesson we should learn from this, as he stated in the post-synodal apostolic exhortation, is that we shouldn't see what happened as the fact that Jesus was truant or that Jesus was irresponsible, but the fact that Jesus took part in the family affairs and in the community affairs. What this actually should teach us to learn is that Jesus handled freedom with responsibility. If we should ask ourselves, where was Jesus found when he was looked for? We will see that he was found not in a beer parlor, but he was found in a temple. So the best way is to allow the youth to have this freedom, but we should also have in mind that this freedom should be accompanied with responsibility. And finally, what we should actually have in mind at the back of our mind is that Jesus Christ is the image, the true image of a youthful age. So whenever we are disillusioned, we should always look at Jesus and be consoled. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, James. There are some important points raised there by James. The issue of confusion and disillusion amongst young people, which is affecting, I believe, a lot of young people in countries in which we're coming from. And also he touched on Christus Vivit, which is a document that the Pope, we usually refer to a love letter to young people by the Pope, which it gives us a roadmap, I would say, reflecting on our lives as young people and the church of today and how we can remain faithful as under the item we are discussing today. Nolutando, yes.
Thank you so much, Tamsanga, and good evening again, everyone. I think there's a few things that are quite important in reference to this question that are really important to engage with when it comes to how young people perceive themselves within being faithful, as well as just how everyone else perceives the youth and what faithfulness looks like. And I think an important element of that is the question of vocation and the extent to which we have categorized vocation to a specific limitation. I think a lot of young people often want to give themselves, want to place themselves in a position of being fully active and fully functional, but have not found themselves called to priesthood or called to consecrated life. And I think there's a newfound discussion around how we're able to use our multiple vocations to remain faithful, and inclusion of things like discussions around the economy of Francesco and what that means to have an economy with a soul, discussions around things like what it means to take care of the environment, Laudato Si, in terms of the conversations that we begin to have around the friendship and companionship and what that means to young people, fratelli tutti, all of these are elements that now begin to place us in a position where our existence within faith is not limited to existing in a vocation of clergy or in a vocation of being consecrated, but exists such that we can use our daily lives as expression of that faithfulness in a way that seeks to make the world better, in a way that seeks to bring the world to God. And I think young people find more expression in that element, and they become even more engaged, not just with our careers, etc., but with our being, with the church, with God, with faithfulness, as well as with the understanding of the fact that vocation does not limit itself to just being a member of clergy, which is fantastic should you opt for it. And that in and of itself is a message that has been central to bringing young people towards God, bringing young people towards an understanding of the world that says that ultimately you can exist in a world that is faithful, that is changing, and still maintain your faith with the ability to do so. And I think this is mentioned quite nicely earlier on, maintaining responsibility, maintaining an understanding of what is required of being faithful, while also being able to ensure that your contribution to the world isn't something that is limited by misunderstanding of ultimately what is most important in terms of contribution.
Thank you, Tando. Very important things that have been highlighted there. I think we'll have an opportunity to comment and also pose questions on what has been submitted by our two panelists. I would like to, I don't know if the panelists is comfortable with me using Likibi, because I cannot really pronounce the word very well. I mean his name very well. But I will ask Marie to assist there. She'll take on the next two panelists on the same item, which is item number 1. How can we remain faithful as young people?
Thank you so much for the question. As I want to make some equalities in our languages, because we are talking about, we talk in English, and I want to speak in French for French people. It's very important. As Marie Solange is here, it will be important to know it. Thank you so much. Bonsoir à tous. Je suis ravi de prendre la parole sur cette question déjà. Comment rester jeune et fidèle dans une société en constante évolution? Peut-être que ce serait difficile de parler de rester fidèle en tant que jeune concernant tout ce que nous voyons ici en Afrique, précisément par exemple ici au Congo, avec tout ce que nous pouvons voir des phénomènes, voilà, des fléaux qui sévit d'ailleurs le monde actuel. Mais cela n'est pas aussi difficile ou bien impossible de le faire. C'est possible d'essayer d'aller vers l'avant pour rester jeune, comme le pape François dans son livre intitulé Christus vivit nous a dit que Jésus-Christ, qui est resté éternellement jeune, est un exemple pour des jeunes. Raison pour laquelle nous, jeunes que nous sommes, nous devons prêter les mots de Jésus et même la façon dont Jésus était jeune. Dans la Bible, il y a plusieurs exemples que le pape dans le Christus vivit nous a montré, comme Gédéon, Jérémie, qui étaient jeunes, mais ils sont restés fidèles à la parole de Dieu, fidèles aussi à leurs principes dans la vie. Raison pour laquelle nous également, nous devons le faire. Maintenant, je parlerai plus des solutions sur cette question-là pour ne pas prendre des faits. Déjà, nous connaissons des conséquences et surtout tout ce que nous vivons actuellement. Déjà, le pape François quand il vient au Congo-Kinshasa, en RDC, avait exhorté la jeunesse congolaise de la RDC sur 5 points essentiels que moi je trouve si pertinent de partager justement sur cette question, de rester jeune et fidèle aux principes de l'Église ou bien dans la société entière. D'abord la prière, parce que nous sommes jeunes. Nous devons aimer prier, nous devons aimer le corps à corps et cœur à cœur avec Dieu. C'est vraiment pertinent et important pour nous, la prière, méditer tout le temps la parole de Dieu pour aller de l'avant, chercher en fait, être en relation avec Dieu. Le deuxième point, c'est celui de la communauté. Aujourd'hui, c'est vraiment un problème pour nous, la jeunesse, de vivre en communauté. Lorsque nous vivons en communauté, nous apprenons à vivre avec l'autre, avec les autres. Donc, c'est aussi important de savoir vivre en communauté, puisque dans la vie communautaire, il y a beaucoup de paramètres à suivre. Par exemple, il y a l'éducation qui est là. Il y a également une éducation professionnelle qui est là. Il y a aussi des formations que nous pouvons suivre dans l'Église et aussi dans la société actuelle. Et aussi, le troisième point, c'est celui de l'honnêteté. Nous devons être honnêtes. Aujourd'hui, certes, c'est un peu difficile d'être honnête, mais Dieu nous accompagne, surtout dans le Christus vivant. Le pape François insiste sur ça, de cette jeunesse devrait être une jeunesse d'honnêteté. Donc, nous devons également être honnêtes. Le quatrième point que je voulais partager avec vous ce soir, c'est celui du pardon. Nous avons souvent du mal à nous pardonner, à dire à l'autre pardon lorsque nous sommes dans une faute, dans une erreur, ou bien dans un fait qui nous ramène à quelque chose de mal, mais nous ne savons pas dire pardon à l'autre, ou bien aussi de faire pardonner l'autre qui nous a fait du mal. J'invite vraiment des jeunes, en particulier en Afrique, de pardonner, de parler vraiment du pardon, d'avoir le langage du pardon, c'est très important. Sur le dernier point, c'est celui qui est vraiment capital, je trouve, c'est celui du service, le service. Parce que rester fidèle aux préceptes de Dieu ou encore à ses propres principes, il faudrait savoir pardonner. C'est vraiment important d'aller vers le service, servir les autres. C'est vraiment important. En conclusion, sur cette question, ce que je pourrais dire, c'est que le jeune ne peut rester fidèle à ses principes et fidèle aussi à la parole de Dieu, justement en lisant d'ailleurs le Christus vivant qui est pour nous est un livret, je pense. C'est un livret pour les jeunes de partager cet amour-là avec le pape dans les Écritures pour savoir comment est-ce que le jeune pourrait vivre sa vie en tant que jeune et fidèle à l'Église et à Dieu. Merci.
Merci à vous. Merci à vous. Et puis, voilà, on a fini avec cette question, mais je pense qu'après vous, il doit y avoir un autre qui doit parler en français ou c'est vous seulement qui parlez le français?
Je pense qu'il y a,
oui.
Il y a mon frère José qui parle aussi en français, qui parle français.
Donc, on va écouter après vous alors. Merci pour votre intervention.
Merci.
Est-ce que Jojo nous entend? Le prochain jour, comme vous avez dit, parce que là, je ne le vois pas. Est-ce qu'il est en ligne, Jo?
Oui, je suis là. But I'm going to speak in English to save time, and if there's something like to summarize, I'm going to say it in French. So the question is like, how can one remain faithful in a continuous changing society. And I just want to echo what the guy who just finished talking is from, I think, Congo. Yeah, he said something like joining, like being with a group of people who really believe, who live in the light and believe in what the Holy Catholic Church and the teaching it entails. You know, there's this common saying that goes, "Show me your friends, and I tell you what kind of a person you are." You know, and if we really want to stay committed and live according to what the Church teaches, is the choice of the people that we really get to interact with and we really get to know about. So I think that really that was really interesting, and I felt like I could add something on top. Another thing is staying committed to our purpose. What's our purpose, like as the youth? Like what do we believe in? What do we really what are our virtues, you know? And I echo some verse in the Bible on Luke 5 verse 11. It says, "And they left everything and followed Jesus." So the thing is, what's our purpose? What are we living for? What do we believe in? You know, in that way, when we understand that will really help us to remain faithful and stay by the truth. My third point is this one is I feel like it's really important for me. Like as a student of life, I believe in taking control of what gets into our ears and eyes. You know, our eyesight and our ears, the very important things, and that's where the root of all evil or all goodness comes from. Because when you look at something, it goes directly into your head. When you hear something, it sticks into your brain for long. So even in the Holy Book, in the Bible, it says, in the book of Job 31:1, it says, "I made a covenant with my eyes." So if we really want to remain faithful still, we must take charge of what we see. Who do we listen to? Who speaks in us? What gets into our ears, you know? And in understanding that, if we really get to listen to the good things and filter out the bad ones, if we really get to focus on what's really good and forgetting about the things of the world and what they entail, I think that way we would really like be in the right path, be in the right direction, and stay committed to the teachings of the Holy Catholic Church. Yeah, I think basically that's it.
Thank you, Jose. Marie.
Yes, we.
You may continue.
Continue for the next question about.
You may continue and give the next panelist to make a submission. I believe Peter's hand is up.
Yes, good evening and good morning to everyone listening to us, wherever you are. As we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Pope Francis, as he has been so instrumental to the world, and he has been so vocal on the youth. Staying faithful as the youth of today with the changing world, we just need to focus on our faith, the faith that we were introduced to. We do know that most of us were Catholics, were baptized when we were still young, and by then were taken to church, and by our families, our mothers, our parents, whoever raised us up, they could take us every Sunday to church, showing us where we belong, where our destination is, our denomination is, where we should base our belief. Now with the changing world of today, I know many youth are going through a lot of challenges. Job opportunities is one of the challenges that youth are going through. The conflict, also youth are affected in this conflict, and the technology that we are in today, youth are also affected. But that does not stop us from following our faith and being faithful, staying faithful to our religions. Because if it is our belief that we are sons and daughters of God, and we belong to this specific denomination as being Catholics, then there's nothing that takes us away from our Catholicism. So we don't have much time, we don't have a lot to do like youth. At least we need to engage ourselves also in church activities. If we can have time, join the congregations, the groups that are in church, the Legion of Mary, the Secret Heart of Jesus, the choir group, and the charismatic, at least this will keep us faithful, and this will keep our faith strong from the changing society, irrespective of the fact that we know these days technology is diverting us from our religion. But still, we can overcome this by joining the congregations, since we can't all become priests and bishops, but we can join the church congregations. At least you have a reason to go to church every day, or at least twice, one time in a week, whereby you will renew your faith through the Bible studies, the songs that you practice, the trainings that you undertake. This will build us still strong in our faith. And one thing that is also affecting us as youth of today is, without whether God exists, because of the situations that we go through. Let's take a scenario. You have graduated from university, and you have not given your time to present yourself to God or to talk to Jesus, but you need to get a job. So the job that you need to get, you need to ask God to lead you to your destination. So instead of you seeking God's hand, you go and look for something that is giving you a shortcut. So this does not help us. We also need to look for, we need to get, there's a Bible quotation that I always love, that is Ecclesiastes 3:3. It says, time for everything. So you can't go and look for extra powers to get job, but go to God. God has that time frame for you when you break through. I believe if we join congregations in the church or church groups, this will keep our faith grow, and we will attract more youth to join to move on in their faith and believe in one Christ, in one Catholic Church, that we all profess that we believe in Catholic Church, and as we always profess. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Peter. You have also touched on a very important point here, where our beliefs are based. I think that's something that we need to go back to. where are our beliefs based? Sister, I think we have lost Sister Marie. Can you confirm if Sister is still online?
Go ahead without the sister. She's an observer.
Okay. I'm looking here at Christus Vivid 83, where Pope Francis reminds us that Jesus makes his presence felt, and amid these crosses borne by young people, he offers them friendship, his consolation, and his healing companionship. There was a point raised on the company we keep by Jose, and I think that those are some of the things that we, as young people, we need to look at. Who really do we spend our time with? If we shared and there's still more that you'd like to share, I think we will get a platform towards the end to summarize what we've discussed on the first point. But I would like us to move on to the second point. As we celebrate Pope Francis' 10th anniversary, this question, it goes into Pope Francis's pontificate. We are being asked, what spaces does the pontificate of Pope Francis accord to African youths? This one is specifically directed to African youths, and I believe from Pope Francis's visit to Africa, to DRC, and as well as Sudan, there's things that we've picked up and things that he has shared with us that he wants us to reflect on, and he would want us to encourage in our faith as young people in Africa. I would like to start with Kibi from Congo to give us, I would say, a first-hand experience. What does the pontificate of Pope Francis accord to African youths, reflecting on the visit by the Pope that was recently made to Africa?
Thank you for the question. As I said, it's very important to speak in French. So, alors, pour ceux qui ne parlent pas d'anglais, on nous demande quelle est la place du pontificat du pape François accorde-t-il à la jeunesse africaine? Récemment, en RDC, nous avions vu, c'était un exemple précis et très majeur pour nous, la jeunesse africaine. Le pape François accorde une place très importante à la jeunesse africaine. C'est celle du dialogue. Aujourd'hui, nous parlons du synode, ce que nous faisons d'ailleurs. Nous parlons du synode. Il a vraiment besoin que les jeunes, eux aussi, puissent participer à la vie de l'Église catholique dans le monde entier. L'Église catholique romaine, bien sûr, dans le monde entier. Donc, d'abord, la place, c'est le dialogue, c'est la conversation tête à tête pour savoir ce que le jeune pense. C'est vraiment, c'est quelque chose d'extraordinaire. Et aussi, c'est une nouvelle réforme pour le pape qu'il a apporté en fait dans la vie de l'Église catholique romaine et en particulier celle de la jeunesse africaine. À côté de ce synode, de ce dialogue, il y a aussi la participation à la jeunesse. Dans ces conseils, déjà, nous avions parlé, maintenant là, nous avions parlé du Christus Vivit. Dans le Christus Vivit, il exhorte la jeunesse à participer massivement à la vie professionnelle. Voilà. C'est un bon conseiller, c'est un bon père qui s'en occupe en fait de l'éducation de ses enfants. C'est aussi ça, la participation ou la place qu'il accorde en fait à la jeunesse africaine. Il y a également l'encouragement, puisque dans le Christus Vivit, il dit que il ne s'agit pas seulement d'aller donner un pauvre à manger, mais aussi il faudrait lui montrer comment pêcher du poisson pour qu'il puisse manger éternellement ce poisson-là. Parce que lorsqu'on lui donne quelque chose, de l'argent, c'est quelque chose de provisoire. Il faudrait aller montrer le pauvre qui souffre, le démuni qui est à l'abri, comment est-ce qu'il faudrait pêcher du poisson, donc travailler. Voilà un peu la place que le pontificat du pape François nous montre vraiment. C'est vraiment essentiel. C'est quelque chose de nouveau dans l'Église catholique romaine au Congo. J'espère bien ça va continuer ainsi. Merci.
Merci à vous encore pour cette deuxième intervention. Des Bergerac, merci à vous vraiment. Je pense qu'on va écouter les autres sur la deuxième question, comme vous venez de le faire.
Maybe just to translate whatever Monsieur Likibi has said. He talked about two essential things. One was concerning the synod, that the theme was enlarge the space of the tent. He talked about the synod, how the Pope really urged the youth to really participate on the synod as well, to participate on the theme, as we have seen, like when this initiative of BBI was formed, every youth, everyone among us was asked to give their own opinion or their own view in chapter 3, and whatever they think, whatever they feel concerning a certain topic. In this case, we were discussing deeply into chapter 3 about the listening and welcoming of the people into the church. And then another thing he talked about was participation into the church by the youth. In this case, he took the case of his home country, DRC Congo. He talked about like how the youth can really continue in the participation of the well-being of the Catholic Church. Yeah, so that's it. I think he really raised a very good point, which really needed some little bit of translation for the Anglophone. Yeah, thank you so much, Monsieur Lekibi.
Thank you, Jose. Our brother from Nigeria, James, what would you like to share with us on the spaces that the pontificate of Pope Francis accords to African youths.
All right, thank you very much for the privilege to attempt this particular point. Actually, his pontificate accords the African youths an immeasurable number of values and treasures. And amidst these treasures and values, we can count them, they are just numerous. We can count the culture of encounter and the culture of participation. We also have the culture of dialogue. We have also the synodal church and also the culture of inclusivity. These are some of the values that is at the heart of the pontificate of Pope Francis. And actually, the African youths are actually being deeply influenced and, of course, fully participating in these values. In terms of the culture of participation, I would like to give Nigeria as an example. We are just at the threshold of a concluded national election that is met with various interpretations and reactions. Some majority do not accept the result. But I want to raise here is that the youths played a major role, and it's in my only two way. I want to attribute it to the influence of His Holiness. Because in the different parishes and dioceses, there was this conscious sensitization of the youths to participate in the nation's election. It was used to be the case that there is this apathy, no person cares of what happens. But at the long run, you see that the bad governance, the bad government we have will influence us in so many ways. Why did I say that the pontificate of Pope Francis influenced us to participate very well? You remember at the November 1st encounter we had with His Holiness, the central point of the question we raised was the crisis that the Nigerian youths are facing. The crisis of thuggery, the crisis of kidnapping, the crisis, just name them, there are just so much. But at the long run, we summarize all these crises under bad governance and nonchalant political exhibitions. And while the Holy Father was advising us, he told us that we should rise up and collect our mandate. The Nigerian youth should rise to what they are supposed to do. Of course, after the encounter, we did a lot of sensitizations and shared what came out as the feedback from the encounter with the Holy Father, and the people were actually moved to action. Secondly, also about the culture of encounter, we have actually also come to embrace this culture of encounter down here in Nigeria. And how we are managing to do it is that, like, we have so many cohorts in Nigeria of the Building Bridges initiative, which is also the brainchild of the Holy Father. So what we do in these Building Bridges across Africa is that we interact. But then beyond that, in our different institutions, we have moved on now to incorporating other people, to encounter them, to know what actually is their problem, to know the difficulty they are facing in the faith, in the journey of faith. And like in the seminary where I stay in Big Isle here, we already have a date that we're going to talk to the whole school about the Building Bridges initiative. And we have above 600 seminarians here. Also in Bodija, in another state in Nigeria, they have already done their own sensitization program and have even begun moving to the societies. So you see that what His Holiness accords us in his pontificate, they are just innumerable. But finally, I would like to talk on the culture of inclusivity, because it is what is actually at the center of the problems of the youth. Because the challenges we have is that we have already doctrine that we're going to uphold. We have dogmas. We have biblical and maybe faith issues that we do not need to tamper with. But amongst the youth, we find people who are pro-LGBT. We also find people who do not agree with so many doctrines that we tell them. So how do we manage them? We come with this culture of inclusivity, even though it's a bit difficult to manage them. But I must tell you that we're making progress, because we're able to tell them, approach them in the manner that Pope Francis does, and we have to welcome them, but also tell them that this aspect of life that they're living is good, and this is not good. And also through our examples, they can also learn how to, change some of the aspects that may not occur well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. It's really encouraging to hear such wise words from young people in the continent. I think we should also be conscious of time. We should make our submissions straight to the point, try to be brief, so that we are able to all share what we would like to share, and as well as keep within the time that has been allocated for this webinar. We at South Africa, Nuntando, would you also share if you have something to share? And also, before we proceed, if someone would like to go after the current speaker, you can raise your hand so that it makes our discussions flow easily than to pick at random, so that we maintain our time. So Peter will follow after Noltan.
Yeah, so I think James hit the nail on the head here. There is so much that's shifted over the last few years in terms of the kind of conversations that are happening with relation to young people, and the extent to which the inclusion of young people has become significantly closer to the forefront in terms of how we envision the kind of conversations that we're having. But I think beyond that, there's some very practical elements that have come to par as well in terms of the kind of discussions that are taking place. Things that the end of last year saw us having quite a few discussions with like 20 young Africans going to Assisi to form part of the first economy of Francesco conversation. And that is just one of the few things in terms of initiatives that have actively engaged young people in a way that seeks to shift their everyday dynamic and also allow their everyday passions, everyday engagements to become a significant portion of what their contribution to the church ultimately becomes. I think discussions around some of the encyclicals like Laudato Si have become so intrinsically important to young people who are specifically thinking about climate change, thinking about what is happening in terms of global warming in the rest of the world, and how we're actively engaged in that in a way that seeks to remind us that we cannot live beyond our means, but also that we cannot engage in a way that is outside of understanding the importance of the earth to ourselves, to our faith, and to God as well. I think those practical elements have placed us in a position where the engagement with young people has been such that young people are able to offer up solutions, are able to offer up engagements, are able to offer up the kind of conversation that puts at the forefront those thoughts, those opinions, as well as the actions of young people to make these things good. As a result, I think this is incredibly important. And we've seen a shift even in the way the dioceses begin to engage with young people, the way they're willing to engage on these particular things, specifically because they don't necessarily have an in-depth engagement with them as the young people do in their daily lives. Those shifts in themselves, especially with the synodal conversation and how that's happening towards the synod, have become so very important in making young people a lot more involved. And that has to be something that we place at the forefront of the kind of discussion that we have about the pontification and what it means for young people and their ability to access inclusion, to access participation, to access a space within the church. Thank you.
Thank you, Nolchando. I think inclusivity is really been the key word here tonight. Peter, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much. And let me say, Pope Francis is to be defined like a pope that is looking after the youth, who seems to see the challenges youth are facing. And he's a motivational pillar to the youth of the world today. Because in most of his speeches, if you follow, he mostly talks about the youth. Like in my country, South Sudan, where he recently visited, he described the youth as the tree that is still growing, that is yet to produce fruits, and fruits that is edible by everybody. So you can see how he's trying to engage youth into the changing world of today, just like relating it to the first question that we had. So youth are very delicate into changing society, but now he had realized that being close to youth will make them drive or will drive them towards one goal of achieving their dreams. And achieving their dreams cannot just go without him supporting them. So that is why we're saying now, this conversation we are having now, we are all youth. This synodal conversation we are having, these are all youth. And this is something that is building us into tomorrow's programming. So Pope has been so influential on youth, and I believe every youth that has come in contact with the Pope Francis message has a reason to think that youth are not left behind. Yes, we know in African society today, or in every country, youth are left behind just because they are regarded as people who don't still know anything. But Pope Francis is saying, no, these people you are seeing are your successors. We have to be close to them. We have to include them in all our activities and make them committed to whatever that they wish to achieve in life. And that is why we are seeing the inclusion of youth in all Pope Francis programs, activities, because he's giving us hope. His words to us is word of hope. Again, just from his quotation, I quote him when he was addressing youth. He said, youth, you should be change agents. Like the problems we are facing today in the world, it is the youth that are involved. But he's telling them, whoever comes to you, you need to look at the future of today and tomorrow. What happens? What are the repercussions of what you're going to get involved into? So I believe Pope closeness to the youth will be of great impact. And Pope Francis has done great work, because if he did not get close to us. I was not going even to talk about him today. I was not going to mention his name several times, but it is because he is close to us. He's giving us hope as youth, and we have to adapt to the things that he's teaching us, like the LGBTQ, that is now the topic of the world that has now taken over COVID-19. So we had COVID-19, the Ukraine war came in. So today we have the gayism and lesbianism. What did he say about it? He said no. Some church leaders had signed it already into practice, but Pope Francis said no. Who are going to be the victims? The youth. So he still talked to us about it. And I would still say thank you, Pope Francis, for being close to youth and putting your hope and belief on earth as youth, as change of the society and agents of change. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Is there anyone else from our panelists who would like to contribute? I believe, Jose, you had spoken, but you were sharing what the TV had shared with us. Okay. Marie.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. May you lead us through to the next item? I believe it's the third and final one. Then there'll be other matters we'd like to add after that.
Okay, this third, how can I say it? The last question, right? It's about the last question. Okay. But I think that people will understand me because I will speak in French. So, do you hear me?
You may proceed. Yes, you may proceed. We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. D'accord, nous sommes sur la troisième question. Merci déjà pour vos différentes réactions. Et nous allons maintenant terminer avec la troisième question qui porte sur quel type d'église, c'est-à-dire qu'est-ce qui inspire, quelle inspiration, si je peux dire comme ça, le pape François accorde-t-il aux jeunes pour l'avenir? Parce que là, c'est comme ça que je reformule la question. Donc, voilà, quel type d'église pour l'avenir avec la jeunesse? Donc, on va passer au fur et à mesure, comme les panélistes l'ont fait déjà, avec notre ami du Congo-Brazzaville, s'il nous entend, pour terminer avec la dernière question. Et ensuite, on pourra continuer avec les autres.
Merci Marie Solange.
Oui.
Cette question-là. Alors, c'est que je veux d'abord dire que le Saint-Père, Pape François, a opté pour un leadership participatif. C'est un leadership qui consiste à a donné la possibilité, en fait, à tout le monde, que ce soit des jeunes, des vieillards, des adultes, à participer à la vie de l'Église. Parlant sur cette question-là, je pense que c'est un nouveau style différent que le pape François a ramené dans l'Église, justement sur la décentralisation de l'Église catholique romaine dans les périphéries. À l'époque, nous avions vu que l'Église catholique était centrée justement à Rome sur des décisions importantes. Aujourd'hui, là, le pape nous a montré que non, je dois aller vers une population qu'on pensait, entre guillemets, oubliée, et parler avec cette population-là. Nous avons vu son voyage, par exemple, en Chili, avec cette population qui était déjà désespérée, mais au moins avec le soutien du pape François, avec sa présence, ça montre que le pape François veut créer une église communautaire sur un seul et unique mot, ensemble. Voilà, ensemble. Ce que nous utilisons, nous, en Afrique ici, Ubuntu. On veut créer cette église-là pour le bien commun de tout le monde. Raison pour laquelle c'est aussi important de souligner que dans sa dynamique relationnelle, nous voyons que le pape François a un contact vraiment très, très physique avec tout le monde. Raison pour laquelle même il y a certains qui disaient que le pape ne faisait pas du pape. Il y avait des Italiens qui le disaient dès le premier jour même de son pontificat, que le pape ne fait pas du pape, parce qu'il a apporté en fait une nouvelle réforme dans l'Église catholique. Je pense bien qu'avec son leadership et surtout sa rigueur dans sa prise de décision, c'est vraiment important pour nous et ça nous montre déjà quel est le chemin que nous sommes en train de suivre pour une Église nouvelle au monde, une Église catholique nouvelle dans le monde. Nous avions vu que le pape aussi nous dit que nous ne pouvons pas oublier, nous ne devons pas plutôt oublier nos cultures. C'est aussi un point important pour l'ensemble de l'Église, en fait. Le chemin que nous empruntons pour une Église nouvelle. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, il faudrait le dire, que l'Europe n'est plus un bon exemple pour nous, un bel exemple pour nous, Africains, en termes de l'Église catholique romaine. Nous devons, nous, Africains, inculturiser l'Église catholique romaine. Nous devons suivre aussi, certes, nous sommes dans le rite de l'Église catholique, mais tout en restant fidèles aussi à nos coutumes. C'est que le pape François nous dit d'ailleurs dans le Christus Vivit que le jeûne devrait être scotché avec la culture. Voilà, donc c'est un nouveau mouvement que le pape François met en œuvre justement pour une nouvelle Église. Je pense que c'est un bon leadership que le pape nous montre dans sa simplicité et surtout dans son silence du cœur à cœur avec le Seigneur Jésus-Christ. Sur cette question, merci bien. Merci bien. Je pense que c'est très important de parler de l'avenir de l'Église catholique, surtout avec la jeunesse, puisque lui-même, il a dit qu'il faudrait que l'Église catholique romaine puisse réserver une place importante pour la jeunesse. Donc, là où va l'Église, c'est là où également va la jeunesse. C'est important. Sur ces mots, j'ai fini. Merci.
Merci. Merci à vous, Monsieur Deberge. J'ai bien vu votre nom maintenant. Merci. So, let's share with all of people who speak in English, so we can start with Maybe Nigeria for the next person. About the last question. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, okay, right. Thank you very much. On the last question, I will actually say that the type of church that I prefer, that we anticipate that we could be encouraged with is a transformative church, a church that transforms. Transformation in the sense that it is a church that accompanies, a church that strengthens, a church that corrects, and a church that builds. There is an article written by one of the foremost African philosophers who is also a Pope Francis, Professor Stan Chwilo, and he tagged the article, The Transfiguration of Pope Francis and the Transfiguration of the People of God in Africa. For him, in that article, transfiguration means simply transformation. And his understanding of transfiguration in the article is actually my understanding of transformation and the type of church I prefer in Africa. And there are three brief signs that one can get from that particular article. The first sign is the sign of climbing the mountain. You remember that Jesus went with the three apostles. They climbed the mountain. And he was saying in the article that what this shows is the suffering of Pope Francis having a knee problem and trying also battling with it, coming to Africa. You see, climbing the mountain has to do with suffering. So what's the lesson from this is therefore that we should have a church that suffers, but also at the end will have a kind of eternal reward. Because while the apostles were coming down with Jesus, they were now invigorated and vivified in the beatific vision. So the second sign in the article is the sign of the dazzling Jesus. You remember that at a point in the mountain that Jesus became dazzled and his face showed. And that was the point that the apostles were like, oh, his personality was properly revealed to them. And in this point, the lesson there is that the type of church we want in Africa is the type of church that we, the members, we see ourselves in the ministers, that the faces of our ministers will shine in us, that they will feel our worries, that they will understand us and will be able to say, oh, this is actually our minister. And the final sign is the sign of the word that this is my beloved son. And actually, that is the sign of the inauguration of the mission. We want a church in Africa where the youths know their mission. The problem is that most of us do not even know our mission in the church. So this transformative church that I want and we want in Africa should be able to embrace these three signs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's go now with the person who represents South Africa, if she's. Hello.
Hi, yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. Thank you.
Ultimately, I think the Catholic Church is old. It's been centuries, and for the longest time, it's also been unwilling to engage and unwilling to accept critique. Hence the discussions on Protestant churches, hence the conversations on breakaways. I think we've now reached a point where the personality of the church cannot afford to just be rigid anymore. And the kind of leadership that is found in Pope Francis is one that seeks to engage in a way that not only just maintains doctrine, but also facilitates more honest engagement with the kind of critiques that exist and are fair in relation to the way, from the hierarchy to the way that pastoral engagement takes place. And I think that has been something that has led to a very interesting and also quite in-depth transformation in terms of the way that the church views itself, but also in terms of the way in which it's engaged with people over the last 10 years. The growth in the Catholic Church in Africa is a clear indication of the kind of shift that has happened and the kind of transformation that has taken place in regards to the extent to which we're able to engage with some of the issues that have been brought out over a significant period of time as the Catholic Church. That transformation in and of itself, the beginning of that transformation, is a beacon of hope in that the rigidity of what we want to maintain as the pure understanding of Catholicism is something that ultimately requires us to be able to ensure that the more important elements on a value and virtue level are held. I think the understanding of journeying with the most vulnerable, specifically focusing on taking care of our common home, specifically being focused on inclusion of young people, specifically being focused on the protection of all that which is good, less in terms of what is law, has been a significantly valuable transformation in the way we view the church, but also in the way that the church views itself.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to the last speaker. The last person, please.
Hello. Hello, I can hear you.
Thank you.
I hope I'm audible enough.
Question, please.
Am I? Okay. Just to answer the question was talking about like the type of church, what type of church does the Francis effect promote or encourage in our continent? And that brings me back to our last session that we had with Monsignor Lucio Ruiz. He talked about Jesus came for everybody, and so is God's mercy, you know. And I think this is really important on the topic that we just discussed on question 2 about the type of the culture of inclusivity. Sorry. Here, there's something positive like to grasp. For me, the type of church that really Pope Francis tries to promote is the church of all people, like regardless of one's social status or social class, like you are able to access the church and you're able to worship the one who created us. You have heard of I hope you guys have heard of this theme during his 10-year tenure. It says that we may all be one, and this is really important because even in the Synod, the chapter 3, it really talks about how we can all become a one church people, and how we can really move together as people, regardless of the status that we are in. So I guess that's what I have to say about the last question. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that now we are going to asking some questions. Hello, Stamiso, do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Marie. Thank you.
Let's go to the question, to ask the question, and
we received some questions from YouTube.
I think Peter wanted to say something.
Oh, Peter, you went up. Apologies for that. You may go ahead, Peter.
It's okay. I think let's move to the questions. It's okay. Let's move to the questions that was raised on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
For the questions, I think we would not everybody will answer that. We'll just, maybe one or two people will just reflect on them, just to give a kind of your own idea. What do you think? These are very important questions and are very deep. These are questions that could even constitute a new program. So we just want people to give just briefly, one or two answers to them. It's all about what do we do when the bishops and archbishops? This is a long question we have been asking from day one. If they are not, being there for us when the society is not there for us, for example, in a society where the youth are not regarded and the church seems not to help them navigate through those moments, what do we do? What do we do with that moment? What side should we choose? Do we have to follow the side of the church, or do we have to follow the side of the society? If following the society gives us opportunity, and following the church takes us out of those opportunities, how do we choose between those moments? How do we make such decisions? And what are the attitudes that we are expected to adopt in moments when hope seems not to solve our problems, and when we think that things are beyond just ordinary believing? How do we react to a world in constant change? That's the summary of it. Francis, donc, one person will I think Peter will answer in English, and one person will give us an answer in French. I know all of you would have an answer, but we wouldn't have such moment. We have already spent an hour here. Donc, en français, c'est la question de savoir, lorsque des évêques ou l'Église semble ne pas être là, quand nous sommes devant le choix entre le monde, ce que le monde nous propose, et comme ce que le monde nous propose, surtout quand on sait que des jeunes sont dans nos sociétés négligés. Et il semble que le pape, l'Église ne nous accompagne pas dans des moments comme tels. Qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire? Qu'est-ce que devons-nous choisir? Est-ce qu'il faut choisir de rester tranquille ou de se battre? Et si se battre veut dire aussi nier notre foi, est-ce qu'il faut s'engager? Comment se comporter face à cela? Et quel camp devons-nous choisir? Le monde, ou est-ce que nous devons choisir l'Église? Si l'Église reste tranquille face à nos difficultés, quelle décision prendre? Quelle attitude adopter? Et puis, lorsque l'espoir et l'espérance ne semblent pas les seuls pour la foi et le bonheur, quel choix? Quel chemin prendre? Donc, face à des difficultés, quelles sont les attitudes qu'un jeune qui se dit catholique et qui a la foi doit adopter? C'est le résumé. Ingénieur?
Yes, thanks for the questions that were raised on YouTube. There were a number of questions, and I love the composure of these questions. So, yes, we know as youth, we face a lot of challenges today, like I said before. And this might need our archbishops or bishops, or else our religious leaders to be on our side, to help us, guide us on what to do. On the other hand, we have society. So the confusing question is, where do we go? Or what do we do? The answer is, the church leaders are humans. They might not be responding to all our challenges. But the key thing is that we need to keep our faith. Let our faith lead us. Because at some point we lose hope that since we have not got job after graduation or after getting out of technical institutions, we don't get anything that supports us. So society is there. Yes, when we get job, we help our society. But the people that we look at to give us support is the church leaders. But we also need to know that they are humans. Not all of us that they will respond to. But what matters is our beliefs, our faith in God. We shouldn't lose faith. We shouldn't, our faith should not be shaken. Because once our faith is shaken, we get involved into things that will not help us. We get involved in things that affects the society. So we just need to stick to our faith and beliefs and follow the words of Christ, because the word of Christ and the Bible is the most powerful instrument, the most powerful and strong document that can lead us to our destination, our achieving our goals. So we just as youth, as we do, we put much effort to achieve our dreams. Let us not rely much on people that we think would help us, because sometime in life, we might think this person will be of great help, yet that person has a lot of things also in the mind. So, but when you believe in yourself, you take a step. If they are there to help us, let them come and find us going ahead. Let them come and find you as youth doing something. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Someone to share in French. We are sharing as a response to the questions that were posed on YouTube.
Merci. Sur cette question, alors, nous devons dire que quelles que soient les épreuves que nous pouvons rencontrer, quelles que soient les difficultés que nous pouvons rencontrer, il est très important de garder la foi. La foi, c'est l'acte fondamental d'un chrétien. Peu importe ce que l'Église peut faire ou de ne pas faire, mais nous, jeunes que nous sommes, nous devons d'abord croire en nous-mêmes. Nous devons croire en nous faisant former. C'est d'abord ça. L'Église ne va pas nous dire d'aller quelque part pour aller faire une formation. C'est d'abord nous, c'est notre conscience à nous. Quand nous avions un rêve, nous devons concrétiser ce rêve-là. Mais comment est-ce qu'il faudrait faire pour concrétiser le rêve? Nous croyons déjà pertinemment que Dieu est avec nous. Donc, nous devons rester dans le cadre du leadership de nous-mêmes et de poser des bases importantes pour aller de l'avant. Certes, il y a, en général, on le voit, vous avez raison, à la personne qui a posé la question, lorsque l'Église ne fait rien et qu'il y a la société qui est là, est-ce que nous devons aller pour aller faire du n'importe quoi ou encore rester dans l'Église pour jouer à la cistana? C'est une question très pertinente d'ailleurs. On en a parlé largement. Mais le conseil que je peux donner à la personne qui a posé la dite question est tout simplement de rester fidèle à ses principes et de chercher le chemin réel. Et le meilleur chemin, c'est le travail. C'est d'aller vers la formation, de se former et de croire en Jésus-Christ, notre Seigneur. Dans le Christus Vivit, d'ailleurs, le pape François, qui est notre Saint-Père, nous a donné quelques ébauches pour aller vers la recherche de l'indépendance professionnelle de l'homme. C'est de croire d'abord à ses rêves, de se former et de dire que moi, je suis capable de faire ce que je veux faire. Et c'est maintenant ou jamais. peu importe ce que l'Église va faire. L'Église, déjà, dans son rôle, c'est vraiment un rôle important qu'elle joue, c'est celui de nous montrer le bon chemin qui est la foi et la croyance en Jésus-Christ, notre Seigneur. Donc, nous devons d'abord croire, de ne pas douter en nous, en nos capacités. Nous avons des capacités. Lors de la rencontre avec le pape, je me rappelle toujours, le pape François nous avait dit, dans le cas du Congo, que vous êtes des jeunes qui ont du potentiel et prenez des risques. Soyez des martyrs. Cela veut dire quoi? C'est que lui, qui est notre Père, qui est le premier responsable, croit en nous, combien de fois nous-mêmes? Voilà, c'est toujours important de croire d'abord en nous, d'être des leaders de demain, puisque même l'Église là compte sur nous. Donc, si nous ne faisons pas quelque chose, si nous ne sommes pas indépendants, comment est-ce qu'on va aller de l'avant avec l'Église que nous voulons vraiment, alors vraiment être une Église exemplaire pour les autres? Donc, d'abord, c'est à nous, les jeunes, de prendre conscience de ce que nous sommes en train de faire, d'aimer ce que nous faisons. Il n'y a pas comme on le dit, il n'y a pas des sous-métiers, mais il n'y a que des sortes de gens. Ce que je peux conseiller, c'est d'aller vers l'indépendance du travail en cherchant quelque chose à faire, en cherchant quelque chose à faire. Soyez la lumière du monde et c'est dans le travail. Merci.
Merci à vous. Merci beaucoup pour votre intervention sur la question. Je pense que
Thank you for those responses to the questions. This brings us to the end, I would say, of our sharing. And I would like to thank all of you for committing yourself to be part of this webinar and giving your time, and as well as your, I would say, your spirituality as well, and your intellect as well, by applying yourselves to the questions that we had at hand. And just to summarize on our discussions, I will ask Marie to also give just a very brief summary on the key words that came from our discussions. I will not put them in order of the questions, but we'll just give what I think we need to take home with us from this discussion and to share with other young people. We shared that we are living in a time where there's a lot of confusion, disillusion amongst young people due to the constant changes that we're experiencing. And it's important for young people to take part in family affairs, I would say, and to take part in church activities, which brings in the participation that we've spoken about. We need to go back as well as to look at vocations and how vocations affect our lives and affect us in the constant changes or continuous change in the society. And our existence in faith shouldn't be only in focus on the vocations to priesthood or to religious congregations, but we should look at our faith in a way that will open our minds to where we can participate as young people. And also, we were also, I would say, warned that we should look at the company we keep, which affects how we react to the changes in our society as well. and who we follow as well also contributes to how we respond to the ever-changing society that we live in and how we respond through our faith. Also, we look at our beliefs. Where do our beliefs lie? Where are our beliefs based? And that's where we have to go back to whenever we are faced with such changes or situations in our society. The Synod, the spirit of the Synod encourages us to participate, to give opinions, listen to other people's opinions, to their views, to open spaces for young people as well, especially those who are excluded or marginalized, as we had looked at the chapter 3 in the synodal document we were given to go through before we became a part of this discussion. And I would say it's also the environment that we are living in. We stated that we need to be environmentally conscious as young people, as that is the accord of Pope Francis to African youth, that we need to be conscious of the environment we are in, how we can protect it. It was stated that we need to also look at living within our means, supporting other young people as the Pope has supported the young people, and also to encourage the church as a whole in our countries to support young people. This includes our bishops, our archbishops, our priests as well. And we also looked at making the church a place of hope for young people. And I would say, lastly, we were looking at the church, how the Francis effect inspires young people to become, and we spoke about a transformative church, a church that is able to transform, a church that looks at the ever-changing circumstances in our lives. And we looked at even the dazzling of Jesus during the Transfiguration, how Pope Francis has actually been like a source of light for young people to build the church that I would say it shows its spirituality and its humanity as well, and it shows the presence of God and Christ in it, in the way that we do the things we do as young people in the continent. Marie,
yes,
you may add before we close.
okay, thank you. Donc, nous disons merci à tous pour votre participation à cette rencontre. Merci de votre temps et merci pour toutes vos interventions. Alors, nous avons évoqué principalement trois questions, sur lesquelles portait notre échange. La première était de savoir comment rester jeune et fidèle dans une société en constante évolution. Donc, à cette question-là, nous pouvons retenir qu'il faut rester constant malgré ce que le monde nous proposerait, ce que les difficultés de chaque jour pouvaient nous présenter. Voilà. Et en cela, le pape, comme l'a dit notre frère du RDC, pendant la visite du pape, du Saint-Père, il a eu à évoquer la question en cinq mots, pour le dire comme ça. C'est-à-dire, il faut mettre surtout la prière au devant de tout. Donc, nous devons toujours prier, quelle que soit la situation. Ensuite, il faut s'intégrer à la communauté. C'est-à-dire qu'il ne faut pas rester individualiste, il faut être ensemble, il faut travailler ensemble. Il faut être également honnête, il faut pratiquer le pardon et le service des autres. Donc, nous devons aller vers les autres, aider les autres quand nous pouvons, quand ils ont besoin de nous. Voilà. Et la seconde question portait sur la place du pontificat. C'est-à-dire quelle est la place du pontificat, du pape, la place du pontificat du pape François accorde-t-il à la jeunesse africaine? Donc, quelle est la place du pontificat? Et nous pouvons retenir que le pontificat du pape accorde une grande place, pour ne pas dire que le Saint-Père accorde une place très importante à la jeunesse, surtout à la jeunesse africaine. Donc, partout où il est passé, il a laissé vraiment des conseils pour pouvoir aider ces jeunes-là parce qu'il sait que ce sont l'avenir. Ce sont ces jeunes qui vont demain porter l'Église, qui vont aider pour les autres générations à venir. Nous devons cultiver les conseils du pape toujours, tous les jours dans notre comportement, dans notre manière de faire de chaque jour, c'est-à-dire au quotidien. Et enfin, nous avons la dernière question qui est l'avenir de l'Église. Quel est l'avenir de l'Église selon le pape? Donc, pour l'avenir, il compte beaucoup sur l'avenir en se basant sur la jeunesse. Parce que la jeunesse portera demain tout ce qu'il y a comme espoir. Donc, c'est en cela qu'il met son espoir. Il croit beaucoup en la jeunesse. Il croit en ce que nous pouvons réaliser, au pouvoir que nous avons avec la grâce de Dieu. Donc, nous devons toujours recourir à cette force-là et à la prière toujours pour pouvoir y arriver. Merci. C'est en ces mots que nous avons terminé. Donc, je pense que nous avons tout parcouru et il est bientôt temps de mettre fin à notre rencontre. Merci à vous. Hello.
Thank you, Marie. I will thank everyone again for such active participation, and we would like to also thank you for bearing with us with this webinar due to the mishaps here and there and the difficulties we experienced in the beginning. But we hope that will not be the last of such discussions with the assistance of PECPAN, and we also would like to thank our priests and our sisters who have been instrumental in gathering young people and gathering other faithful people of God to come and build a synodal church, one that we would all be proud to see grow, as Pope Francis encourages us to be a church that journeys together, not one where one leads and runs way too far, leaving the rest behind. And as he said in Christus Vivit, that it's important that we journey together so that we may achieve a lot more, because by doing things individually, or I would say running or going alone, you would go faster, but when we go together, we go further. I thank you again, and I would thank our facilitator as well for making this webinar possible. We may also, and may again request Jose to close for this yet open for us with a prayer.
Thank you. Is it finished or we have to?
And ask Jose to close for us with the prayer as he had
Okay.
opened for us.
Okay. Thank you. I hope I made audible enough. I will just request everyone to recite the Holy Mary prayer in their language when we are about to end this meeting. Chacun d'entre vous, on peut réciter Je veux saluer Marie dans quelle que soit votre langue. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and the hour of our death. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you.